Imagine someone calling 911 to throw your own wife out of her own house. Now imagine that caller smiling, like they just won, and now imagine the look on their face when they realize the woman they tried to remove actually runs the entire state police force. That is exactly what happened. And trust me, you are not ready for how fast things turned around. If you enjoy stories where power gets flipped instantly, make sure you like and subscribe to HOA Revenge Files, because stories like this only get crazier from here. It started on a quiet morning in a peaceful neighborhood, the kind where nothing really happens, and everyone pretends to follow rules, but behind the scenes there is always that one arson who thinks they own the whole place, and in this case that person was Linda, the HOA president. She had a reputation for being strict, controlling, and honestly, a little obsessed with power. She walked around like every house, every lawn, every parked car belonged to her. And if something did not match her idea of perfect, she made sure everyone heard about it. Now, me and my wife had just moved into this neighborhood a few months earlier. Our home was clean, well maintained, and we followed every written rule, but there was one thing Linda did not like. She did not like my wife, and it was not because of anything my wife did. It was because my wife did not bow down to her authority the way others did. My wife was calm, confident, and never entertained unnecessary drama, and that alone seemed to bother Linda more than anything at first. It was small things, random notices about minor issues, warnings about things that were not even violations, comments about parking, even when we were clearly within the rules. It felt targeted, but we ignored it because we had better things to do than argue with someone who clearly wanted attention. But then things slowly started getting more serious. One afternoon, Linda showed up at our door unannounced, holding a folder full of papers, and started pointing out violations that did not exist. She spoke in a tone like she had already decided we were guilty before even explaining anything. My wife stayed calm and asked her to explain clearly, but Linda kept raising her voice, trying to create a scene, like she wanted the neighbors to hear it. My wife politely told her that if there were real issues, they should be sent officially and not handled through random confrontations. At the door, that moment changed everything. From that day, Linda made it personal. She started watching our house more closely, walking by slowly, sometimes even stopping, just to look around like she was searching for something wrong. It felt uncomfortable, but we still chose not to react, because reacting was exactly what she wanted. Then came the day everything crossed the line. It was late afternoon. My wife was at home alone. I was at work, and suddenly there was loud knocking on the door. Not normal knocking, but aggressive, urgent knocking, like something serious had happened. My wife opened the door, and standing there was Linda with a smug look on her face, and right behind her were two police officers. Linda immediately started talking loudly, claiming that my wife was trespassing. She was not supposed to be there, that the property was under HOA control and needed to be vacated immediately. She spoke with so much confidence, like she believed every word she was saying, or maybe she just thought nobody would challenge her. The officers looked confused because nothing about the situation made sense. My wife calmly explained that she lived there, that her name was on the property documents, and that there was absolutely no legal reason for her to leave. She stayed composed, did no raise her voice, did not get emotional, and that seemed to frustrate Linda even more. Linda kept pushing, insisting that she had the authority to remove her, that the HOA rules allowed it, and that the officers needed to take action immediately. You could tell she expected them to just follow her lead without question, but that is not how things work in reality. One of the officers asked for proof, and that is where things started to shift. My wife calmly walked inside, brought back the documents, and owed everything clearly, ownership, verified address, confirmed, no violations. Nothing that supported Linda claims at all. But instead of backing down, Linda doubled down. She actually called 911 again, right in front of everyone, repeating the same false claims, trying to escalate the situation even further. Like she believed pressure would somehow turn lies into truth. What she did not know, what she could not even imagine, was who she was actually dealing with. Because the woman she was trying to remove, the woman she was trying to embarrass in front of the entire neighborhood, was not just a homeowner. She was someone with authority, far beyond anything Linda had ever experienced. And at that moment, as more officers started arriving, and the situation began to draw attention from neighbors watching from their windows, the entire energy shifted. You could feel it. Something was about to happen, something Linda was not prepared for at all. and my wife still standing there, calm, collected, and in control final. Lai reached for her phone, not in panic, but with quiet confidence, like someone who already knew exactly how this was going to end. And right there is where everything started to change in a way nobody es. Especially Linda could have predicted the moment my wife picked up her phone, everything about her. Presence changed. It was subtle but powerful. Like someone stepping into their real role without needing to say it out loud. She made a short call, calm and direct, no panic, no explaining, just a few clear words, and then she hung up and looked right back at the officers, and even at Linda with a calm expression that made it seem like she already knew how this would end. Linda was still talking, still trying to control the situation, still acting like she had authority over everything around her. But now, the officers were no longer focused on her. Something had shifted in their body language. They were more alert, more careful, like they sensed this situation was not what it looked like at first. Within Mem Newt's, more vehicles started arriving, not just regular patrol cars but higher-level units, the kind you do not usually see in a simple neighborhood call. The atmosphere changed instantly. Neighbors, who had been watching quietly, now stepped outside, trying to understand what was going on, and Linda's face slowly started losing that confident look she had earlier. One of the newly arrived officers stepped out and walked directly toward my wife, and the moment he saw her, his entire posture changed. He greeted her with clear respect, not confusion, not authority, but respect, like he recognized exactly who she was without needing any introduction. That was the moment everything broke for Linda, because the same woman she had just tried to throw out of her own house, the same woman she accused of trespassing in front of multiple officers, was actually someone who held authority over the entire situation, someone connected to the state police force at a level Linda could not even understand. You could see it in Linda's eyes, the realization hitting slowly, first confusion, then disbelief, then fear. She tried to speak again, but this time her voice was not strong. It was shaky, uncertain, like she suddenly realized she had crossed a line. She could not step back from the officer. Calmly asked my wife if everything was all right, and she simply nodded and explained the situation clearly. No exaggeration, no anger, just facts, and those facts were more than enough. Another officer turned toward Linda and asked her to explain her claims again, but this time it was different. This time she was the one being questioned, and she had no real answers, no documents, no legal authority, nothing that could support what she had done. The same confidence she showed earlier was completely gone, replaced with nervous explanations that did not make sense, and the more she spoke, the worse it sounded, because now everyone could see it clearly. This was not about rules. This was not about violations. This was personal, and she had abused her position to try and control something she had no right over. Neighbors were watching closely, some whispering, some recording, and the situation that Linda tried to create as a display of her authority, ad, now turned into something completely opposite. It was exposing her actions in front of everyone. The officers handled everything professionally, but firmly they made it clear that no AA has the authority to remove a legal homeowner from their property, and making false emergency calls, especially RNR, repeatedly, is a serious issue. Linda tried to defend herself, but it was too late. The damage was already done, and the more she tried to talk, the deeper she got into trouble. My wife remained calm. The NTID, time, never raising her voice, never reacting emotionally, and that calm control only made the contrast even stronger between her and Linda. After a few more minutes, the situation was fully under control. The officers reassured my wife, and then shifted their focus completely toward Linda, and what started as her attempt to show power ended with her being held accountable for misuse of emergency services and false reporting. The silence that followed was heavy. Neighbors slowly went back inside everyone knew what they had just seen, and things in that neighborhood were never going to be the same again. Linda walked away without saying much. No confidence, no control, just quiet and shaken. And for the first time, she looked like someone who understood the consequences of pushing too far. Later that evening, everything felt calm again. But there was a different kind of peace this time. Not just quiet, but clarity, the kind that comes when truth stands firm and false authority falls apart. And moments like this remind you that real power does not come from controlling others. It comes from knowing your ground and standing on it without fear. If you made it this far, I want to know what you think. Would you have stayed calm, like my wife, or reacted differently? Drop your thoughts in the Dortha comments and share this story with someone who needs to see how fast things can turn when someone abuses power. And if you enjoy real stories like this, make sure you are subscribed to HOA Revenge Files, because the next one might be even crazier.